Mr. Dubey has been known to take other people to court for what they've said about him. Now, when he takes people to court, if the court start asking him, Mr. Dubey, didn't you not say this about the judiciary? Why should we take you seriously?
Yeah.
So these pushback and reactions happen. Then, as far as the case in contempt is concerned, that's a separate thing. You may rest assured, as your viewers will be, that the full process of law will be gone through if the judiciary decides to proceed in contempt.
Right.
I doubt that Mr. Dubey's remarks will go unremarked or uncondemned. Well, this is the Congressification of the BJP. The only comparative example we have from history is what the Congress did to the judiciary in the late 60s and the early 70s. At that particular point of time, the Congress went to the people saying that, look, we want to pass all these pro-people laws, we want to nationalize banks, we want to have land reforms, but the judiciary keeps saying that there is a fundamental right to property, and the judiciary is not a committed judiciary, etc., etc., etc. People may have been slightly more sophisticated. They may have spoken of a committed judiciary. Right now, it does look that the government wants, if not a committed judiciary, at least a complicit judiciary. A judiciary that is made to measure, a judiciary that simply rubber stamps whatever the government does. Now, that is extremely dangerous for the country, because the biggest litigant in the courts is the government itself.
Hello and a warm welcome to HW News Network, your one-stop show, truth be told, for some engaging and thought-provoking conversations. Now, there is a big controversy over what BJP MP Nishikant Dubey has said about the Supreme Court and about Chief Justice of India. Now, before we get into that, what has happened today? Now, Supreme Court today told the petitioner that he does not need its permission to file a contempt plea against BJP MP Nishikant Dubey over his criticism of the Apex Court and the Chief Justice of India, Sanjay Khanna. Now, there are reports that the matter was mentioned before a bench comprising Justices B.R. Gavai and Augustine George Massey, and the petitioner's counsel referred to a recent news report about Dubey's comments and said he wanted to file a contempt petition with the court's permission. What exactly the court said? You file it. For filing, you don't require our permission. And Justice Gavai was quoted as saying this. Now, the bench also said that the petitioner needs to get a sanction from the Attorney General in the matter. Now, in his letter, what the petitioner wrote to the Attorney General, R. Venkatramani, this is Advocate Anas Tanveer, who has termed Dubey's remarks deeply derogatory and dangerously provocative. And I'm just quoting a few portions of the letter which he has written. I'm writing this letter under Section 15(1)(b) of the Contempt of Courts Act 1971, read with Rule 3C of the Rules to Regulate Proceedings for Contempt of the Supreme Court 1975, to humbly seek your kind consent for initiating criminal contempt proceedings against Shri Nishikant Dubey, Honorable Member of the Lok Sabha from Godda Parliamentary Constituency in Jharkhand, for statements made by him in public that are grossly scandalous, misleading, and aimed at lowering the dignity and authority of the Honorable Supreme Court of India. This is what the letter has said. Now, what did Nishikant Dubey say? Nishikant Dubey basically said that for all the civil wars which have happened, it is Supreme Court which is responsible. And he has said many things which almost seem to be like challenging the existence of the Supreme Court. He says that if the Supreme Court is making laws, and what is the need for the assemblies and the parliament? So he went on to speaking to this scale. But the point is that, is filing contempt against Nishikant Dubey an issue? And why is Attorney General not giving a consent? Is that an issue? And the larger question that why are the likes of Nishikant Dubey, or for that matter, even Vice President of India, Jagdeep Dhankar, are they seemingly running a campaign against the judiciary? Joining me this evening is veteran Supreme Court lawyer and constitutional expert Sanjay Hegde. Mr. Hegde, thank you so much for joining on a subject like this. And it's today we were
Thank
all
you for having
thinking. You're welcome, sir. And today we were all thinking that this contempt petition, which is filed, it's probably going to be accepted. The consent will be given. Is there any issue regarding this contempt petition, which has been filed by Anas Tanveer? And even the bench had to say that, no, you need to seek permission of the Attorney General. So are there chances that Attorney General might not give a consent?
No, there are two different things. Anas Tanveer has sought permission of the Attorney General. That is under 15 in 1B. He's gone through the right procedure. The mentioning today was by some other gentleman who wanted to, by himself, bring it to the notice of the court. And so then the court asked him, what do you want us to do? So then the gentleman apparently said that I want to file a petition. So the court simply said, nobody is stopping you. You do what you want. You may have to take the permission of the Attorney General. So this is not with regard to the letter which was submitted by Mr. Tanveer. Now, a letter has been submitted only yesterday. The Attorney General, no doubt, will take some time to consider it, go through all the precedents, and then decide whether he wants to do whether this amounts to contempt in his opinion, whether he wants to take it up suo motu or file his own complaint, or whether he authorizes Mr. Tanveer or any other person who has asked for his permission to file an application in this regard. Because if you see the wording of Section 15, it says that the Supreme Court or the High Court may take action on its own motion or on a motion made by the Advocate General, stroke Attorney General, or any other person, is with the consent in writing of the Advocate General. So therefore, the correct procedure is to seek the consent of the Attorney General, because this is with the Advocate General happens to be in the states. With regard to the Union and the Supreme Court, it is the Attorney General. If and when the Attorney General gives consent, a complaint may be filed. But if the Attorney General were to not give consent, then even that action may be separately challenged. It's not as if contempt happens immediately or that the court is trigger happy with contempt. I also believe that various bar associations and professional bodies are also contemplating resolutions or some suitable measure of condemnation as far as Mr. Dubey's intemperate remark is concerned. Right. I doubt that Mr. Dubey's remarks will go unremarked or uncondemned.
But when this contempt is the petition is accepted and the proceedings start, what do you think can be the biggest punishment for Nishikant Dubey, if at all the proceedings continue, and what has been asked for by the petitioner?
See, after the person who files the complaint, technically in law, only brings it to the notice of the court. Then the court decides whether there is a case in contempt to be answered, issues notice to the other side, hears the other side, then decides on the framing of the charges, and gives the alleged contemner a full opportunity to defend himself or herself. Only after the full hearing is a judgment passed, and if the judgment holds the alleged contemner guilty, the alleged contemner can be punished with imprisonment up to 6 months or with a fine, or both.
I was speaking to a few people, and they said that also if he apologizes and if the court accepts, but I want your opinion that is it a fit case for the apology to be accepted, or some stern message needs to be sent out to people like Nishikant Dubey at this point of time, the way they are challenging the apex court?
You see, I am not a judge, and I may have my strong views as an advocate. But as far as the judges are concerned, they are they do not have a personal axe to grind. What they are interested in is that the image of the judiciary is not scandalized in the eyes of the people. If an apology or a fake apology for the sake of an apology is granted and it doesn't seem sincere, the judges may very well reject it. But if there is sincere contrition shown and the apology appears to be genuine, they may very well accept it and let the person off with a warning.
No, but where is the possibility
just for reference?
Yeah. No, I was saying that where is the possibility of a sincere contrition? No, you go ahead.
That very often when faced, So very often when faced with a finding of contempt or a possible conviction, people may not want that on their record. And apologies, tears, and sincerity all come out when necessary. So at that point of time, whether it is sincere, whether it is worthy of acceptance or not, is a judicial call to be made at that point of time. We are going ahead of the game. But
no, but
often,
Hegde, I'm talking
this is how
purely on the
contempts
basis
are sorted out. You must just one minute. Just for contrast. For contrast, you had Prashant Bhushan, who was charged with contempt. He refused to apologize. And in fact, his lawyers mounted a spirited defense of what he had said. Thereafter, the Supreme Court found him guilty. And then it first took some time to decide what would be the appropriate punishment. And finally, it punished him only with a token fine of 1 rupee. Yeah. Each of these stages is a separate stage. First comes the question of whether the person is guilty or not. Then they hear on the sentence, if any. And at each stage, the apology may be a factor.
No, but given the fact that he looks like a repeat offender in the sense that he is not mincing his words in any way. He goes on and on and on, and whatever he said about Supreme Court, and then later on yesterday also, he put out a post about the former Chief Election Commissioner S.Y. Qureshi saying that he's a Muslim commissioner. That's what he said. So I don't think he's repenting in any way or he's regretting in any way. And of course, he's getting a lot of support by the BJP trollers, the right-wing BJP army. And look at the way he's getting the support on across the platforms, that there is nothing wrong in what Nishikant Dubey has said. And they are supporting even the vice president for what he said. They are supporting Nishikant Dubey. So shouldn't there be a stern message from the judiciary that if Nishikant Dubey can say that Supreme Court or the Supreme Court is going beyond the boundaries, and then they are playing a game. I mean, he said something like that. And if they are trying to remind Supreme Court of their limits, then shouldn't judiciary also send out some kind of a stern message to him?
Well, today itself, I think some part of the message was sent out in another matter where Mr. Jain, Vishnu Jain, said something. So the judges, Justice Gawai, who is going to be the next Chief Justice, said, "Oh, why should we do that? We will be accused of overstepping our boundaries." So Mr. Dubey has been known to take other people to court for what they've said about him. Now, when he takes people to court, if the court start asking him, "Mr. Dubey, did you not say this about the judiciary? Why should we take you seriously?"
Yeah.
So these pushback and reactions happen. Then, as far as a case in contempt is concerned, that's a separate thing. You may be rest assured as your viewers will be, that the full process of law will be gone through if the judiciary decides to proceed in contempt. But whether to proceed or whether to take the line that, we do not react to anybody who says anything that comes to the top of their head, and we will speak only through our judgments. That's also a line that the judiciary has taken from time to time. There's a famous line in the 1948 judgment by Lord Atkin, which says that that justice is no cloistered virtue. It must suffer the outrageous, even if misplaced, comments of ordinary men. So that's also a line that can be taken. But everything depends on context. It depends on whether there is a repeat offense, whether there is any sort of suspicion that all this is an organized attack on the institution itself. The response from the judiciary, I'm sure, will be institutional and will not be personal.
No, but don't you think that what has happened, and it seems like an organized, vitiated campaign against the judiciary, because you have the vice president speaking, then you have Nishikant Dubey, and I don't know how many likes of Nishikant Dubey will again go on speaking till the time the new chief justice doesn't swear in. So why do you think that this campaign was started against the judiciary, and especially since the time Yashwant Verma's case of the cash pile came up, about which even Vice President spoke about it. But why do you think is this campaign? I mean, is it? Why do you think BJP is indulging into this kind of a campaign at all?
Well, this is the congressification of the BJP. The only comparative example we have from history is what the Congress did to the judiciary in the late 60s and the early 70s. At that particular point of time, the Congress went to the people saying that, look, we want to pass all these pro-people laws, we want to nationalize banks, we want to have land reforms, but the judiciary keeps saying that there is a fundamental right to property, and the judiciary is not a committed judiciary, etc., etc., etc. The fight of those led to the Keshavananda judgment and the doctrine of the basic structure. It also then led subsequently to the emergency and several other things in constitutional history. So what, to my mind as a constitutional historian, we are only seeing a second chapter of that same kind of campaign. Those people may have been slightly more sophisticated. They may have spoken of a committed judiciary. Right now, it does look that the government wants, if not a committed judiciary, at least a complicit judiciary. A judiciary that is made to measure, a judiciary that simply rubber stamps whatever the government does. Now, that is extremely dangerous for the country, because the biggest litigant in the courts is the government itself. Now, when a citizen goes to court, he or she is often going against the government of the day, saying that the government has indulged in injustice. Please protect me. You are the guardian of the Constitution. And if the judiciary does its job to say that the judiciary is whatever, anti-people or anti this religion or that religion, is to weaken the judiciary and to create anarchy.
You rightly said that they're trying to weaken the judiciary and also trying to create anarchy. We also saw a few years ago, though the context was different, how the judges came out and held a press conference. They spoke to the people. They shared what they thought. Do you think that unprecedented situations call for unprecedented measures? So do you think that the judges should still speak through their judgments in a case like this, what we are seeing with the vice president speaking against the judiciary and Nishikant Dubey? Or do you think that they should come out and publicly start censuring these kind of statements?
No, see, if they come out to rebut these statements in a press conference, then the other side, there will be several press conferences on the other side. So I don't know who it was. I think it was George Bernard Shaw who said that never wrestle with a pig.
Yes.
The pig enjoys getting dirty in the mud, and you are no better off than when you first started wrestling. So you do not get there. Therefore, the judiciary has always said that we will speak only through our judgments. And yes, when the judiciary starts looking closely at government claims in several other matters, that is when the governments may yet realize that antagonizing the judiciary is not necessarily the best way of persuading it to the justness of their cause. Actually, we lawyers often know that even with the toughest of judges, if we get into an unnecessary fight, it is our clients and our causes that suffer. Even when we want to say no, we first say yes, your lordship is right, but your lordship may have considered this. So the art of persuasion is not the art of simply saying the first thing that comes to your head. And I think Mr. Dubey, if it was not his own head, he has been set up by people who may conceivably not have his best interests at heart and who can conceivably sacrifice him if the going gets tough.
No, I'm just taking a cue from what you said that it seems that Nishikant Dubey has been set up by the people. Now look at the manner in which Jagat Prakash Nadda came out and tweeted yesterday. And he said that the party has nothing to do with Nishikant Dubey's statement and we distance ourselves, and also with the statement of Dinesh Sharma. And then again, he has the audacity to write about former Chief Election Commissioner S.Y. Qureshi. What do you think that the BJP should be doing, if at all they don't want to antagonize the judiciary? And as what you said, that it's not in the benefit of the government as well. So I'm sure the party realizes what Nishikant Dubey has done. So doesn't the party need to do more than what they have just tweeted and distanced themselves?
I do think that if the party does not take action against Nishikant Dubey, it will be assumed that they are complicit in what he said, or that they have that somebody within the party has egged him on to say what he has said. If the party wants to disown his statement and to distance themselves, they have to effectively distance themselves by taking disciplinary action and doing all that is necessary to ensure that Mr. Dubey's actions are not attributed to the party.
But supposing, I mean, what we are talking about is a vicious campaign against the judiciary. Now, is the government also trying to send out a message to the new Chief Justice who's going to swear in after a few days? Is it a message by and large to the other judges as well that please don't think of giving verdicts which are very independent minded, which are not too much in favor of the government? So in a way, is the government trying to clip the wings of the judiciary? And how would the judiciary react? Maybe some judges might get intimidated, some might not, some might speak. So how is the judiciary really going to react to this? And do you see this as an effort to clip the judiciary?
Of course, it's an effort to clip the judiciary because no powerful government likes a judiciary which questions it. Please look at what's happening even currently in the United States. 9-0, the United States Supreme Court said, no, you cannot deport people without due process, and you have to get a man back from a prison in San Salvador where they sent him. The Trump administration has been dragging its feet. Its Vice President J.D. Vance, who's just now come to India, has also said various things about the judiciary. And there have been all these calls in the MAGA world, which is roughly equivalent to the IT cell and the online trolling in India, that we should impeach judges, etc., etc. So, yes, it is the playbook of autocrats all over, whether it is in India, whether it is in the US, or whether even in Israel, where Benjamin Netanyahu has been having his own problems with the judiciary and a corruption case which is against him. However, on a larger philosophical plane, the way I see it is that if the state, or if any country is compared to a car, then the executive is supposed to speed it up. The executive acts as the accelerator. But if it goes off the road, then where do the brakes come from? The brakes come from the judiciary. And when the judiciary slams the brakes or applies some pressure on them, the judiciary is only doing its job. And thank God for that. Because otherwise, you will end up in accidents which will be beyond your control.
But have you ever in your lifetime and also as a career lawyer, do you think that has any MP spoken so brazenly about the Supreme Court and the Chief Justice of India?
No, not in my working life at least. And even in the 70s, what we've read of have all been much more civilized, much more cultured. Yes. They had spoken of judges who had a commitment to the poor and a committed judiciary. Right now, the talk almost is of being my man and not being my man. That seems to be they are for us or against us. That is no way of handling independent institutions. If you weaken the judiciary, you necessarily weaken the rule of law, the perception of the rule of law, and the perception of the country as a whole, as a place where the rule of law prevails. You are looking at an anarchical society and country if you have judges who will merely rubber stamp whatever the executive decides. And if the executive decides something wrong, if there is to be no appeal to any independent authority, then you are technically in a dictatorship.
But yesterday, day before yesterday, Nishikant Dubey had given that interview to ANI where he said all sorts of things to CJI and the Supreme Court. And if he had any regrets, he would have said sorry by now. I don't think that he's going to say sorry. And knowing the kind of DNA he's made of, he's almost like what the same DNA Ramdev is made of. So what would you really say? I mean, does he really have a scope where he can offer an apology and he should be pardoned by the Supreme Court? Or do you think that the fittest punishment for him would be to send him to 6 months of jail?
Again, I come back to the same old answer. It would all depend on the context. A great deal would depend on the lawyer who appears for him and the lawyer who advises him. I have seen very many, petulant parties who, upon being given correct advice, have finally got their clients to see reason. We do not know. So far, he has not apologized. He has not apologized at the earliest opportunity. If he had said, "Oh, sorry, I misspoke. I take that back, and I have the highest respect," things may not have escalated to this level. But if only after a conviction, if he then offers to apologize, I don't know with what seriousness such an apology will be viewed.
True. Thank you so much, Mr. Hegde, for joining us. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you.